Need for Speed Unbound. Do you remember when they revealed this trailer and it was properly mixed? Everyone was so confused. What the hell are they doing? Fast forward a packed live service and the ability to turn those effects off in case you don't like them. We have just come across this. A concept video posted by a UI concept artist. Now, it is absolutely worth noting, every single game has these concept videos and artwork pieces that are done. But this is super interesting because it shows and portrays what they were really going for with Need for Speed Unbound. We all know it had an incredibly messy upbringing, if you will. But looking at this, like, what? Some of this stuff clearly translated across, but not anywhere near in the way that we would have hoped. So anyway, we're going to go through all this stuff, and there's a lot of it that I really want to dissect and show you. There's actually more linking this game. Like, look at this. What the We've got to dissect this, folks. I was going to say friends and folks at the same time. Let's slow down a little bit. They go out to different people and they give them the flavor and they give them the actual results that everyone wants to see. So there's a lot to go through, but what's pretty obvious is this stuff is, well, earlier than when the UI would have been done, so probably earlier in the development of the game, but they already had the concepts for the story and some of the world, at least it seems. And of course, the GTR was a significant point of this, which is kind of crazy to think about. So what I noticed from the UI and the differences of what we actually got versus these concepts is that ultimately this person at this time thought that they should go for the Heat style with a lot of the menus and such, but what we actually got was just a blank space. This area that we see all the time that I keep hearing people call the void. Like, really thinking about it, it's kind of depressing. I don't know, I get more of a feel from the Need for Speed Heat Garage. The Heat Garage where you got your cars in the background, but what's obvious is they were pretty set on the idea of the void. The reason that they would have thought about this realistically is because what they tend to do is quite a cool trick that they started to do in Need for Speed Heat, and then they would have doubled down on it. They managed to keep the car rendered and load the world and such around the car, so you get to see the cool car doing these cool things in these cool locations without deloading the car, which realistically saves surely resources that they would have to deload and then reload the car. Just kind of stupid. So what they did is they put front and center a system that would normally hide stuff in the background rather than just getting generic loading. You get this, you get cool shots of your car. But I'd argue one of the issues with that is that they still just had generic loading screens in between some of those. So it seems like they didn't fully get where they needed to be at the very least. But anyway, that's all the talk I want to do about loading screens because we'll be here all day just talking about loading screens. I think they like Nissan, you know. So one of the other ideas was to have in the background things like your speed. Oh, you went 205 miles an hour during that race. And oh, your current class is B, A. It's so much cooler. It fits in. You don't have just stupid like crap icons in the corner. It implements it in a way that's just, it feels all natural. It feels like it should be the case. Now, some of my favorite parts from this, these cop screens are so awesome. We see them in the video, which again we'll go back to because there's so much to dissect in that video, but they show you like a real kind of scary, the vibe that they were going for, the wanted, like it's dark, and then the graffiti is plastered in there too. They lay that over. The amount of work that went into the stuff for ultimately most of it to kind of not be used is, once again, that's just messy. That's just game development in general, but game development is messy. It's so beautiful to look at, and I really wish they kind of got to go 100%. Now, I want to make it 100 bajillion% clear that I do not overall like the characters. I don't mind the effects and stuff and the artwork and things like that. I think the characters just disconnected it a little bit. We could have done this with the Heat style characters, and I think a lot more people would have been accepting of it. I still think a lot of people didn't like the effects, and I think it's good that they let us disable them a little bit later, and maybe that should have been sooner. But this art style is something I really want to see return. Like, it gives me Heat vibes more than Unbound, which, if anything, shows that the concept was better. I hate to say it, but it just was. I remember seeing some of the other stuff from Heat where you could generate an image, a video of your car before launch. It looks like that, but like, look at this stuff in motion. Look at this moving. This is what they intended the game to be like, but they actually obviously struggled to get that implemented in the game, and well, now hopefully with more time on their hands, this is the type of stuff you'll actually get to see. And honestly, this is the type of stuff I really want to share. I want people to see this type of cutscene and these type of things, like, oh, I reached 205 miles an hour in the race. Now, one of the things, just to, again, this video, there is a second video we will be looking at, but this video specifically, I noticed something pretty interesting. To give a bit of like time context with this looks like Heat's lighting model, but is this the new map? I can't really tell, but they clearly had intent to fully write off the cars. This person obviously worked specifically on like the UI and the effects and making it so, but would they have had access to the in-engine like stuff? I don't necessarily 100% think so. So at some point they had, not only obviously we still got takedowns, but these cool ass effects as the car flies through the air. If you were gonna do, and full damage, not full damage, but like bigger damage. In case you don't know, the reason we don't end up with like damage like that is generally because manufacturers don't want their car to be properly damaged, and honestly, players don't really like their cars looking like heaps. They genuinely, usually on Forza, I think most people, as far as I know, put on the system to remove damage completely because they don't want their scuffed up car. But if you integrate it into gameplay, I think that's even crazier. Like, I don't like takedowns as such. I think they should be removed from Need for Speed. But with these effects, maybe I would have been, oh, I get it now. It's kind of cool. But they didn't. They just have the car randomly roll over and it looks a bit crap. Think about like Juiced. Say you went out for a race, you did some races, your car got damaged, you go and repair it. And that is a cool way of like adding to the risk reward system. And I think I would like to see something like that. Personally, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think, you know, your car being scuffed up is that bad a thing. Let's get it done then. This is the second video on their page. The car models and everything look, the character models maybe looking a little better in this overbloomed location. You might remember these from the early leaks and stuff. Maybe it was them that leaked the someone leaked footage early on, but you can see the map actually being pieced together. We've seen this location before. It's the bridge, just kind of, you swerve and you keep going to Rydell's. The characters looking a little bit cooler, a little bit more human with the motion and things like that, a little bit more double down, triple down on like the cartoon look, which they didn't really end up achieving. But hell, look at this, the head-to-head events where you've got, okay, this is kind of cringe. But again, concept art, that's really cool. The characters seemingly were supposed to look a hell of a lot better based on concept, and I think that's just always going to be the case. The best characters they've had are the ones from Need for Speed Heat, which, in case you didn't know, those were generated by the FIFA character creators, as what I know. And that's one of those things I really think about when it comes to game development, and game development in general being quite messy. I mean, you've got so many different studios under the same umbrella, so under EA, that are constantly improving a system that's already been built and not a priority for a game like Need for Speed. So think about for a second, if you want to make it so that Need for Speed can be built on a smaller team, as it has been recently, or on like a smaller budget, surely just use other people's stuff. This is something I've always thought about. When it comes to like models that are used in many games, like trees and textures and, I don't know, roads, why not all games like Battlefield and just in general within EA's own bubble? The fact that Criterion are working on both Battlefield and Need for Speed, surely use and share road textures, use and share physics, use and share character model creators from FIFA. If this is already done, but why not on a bigger scale? The tree models in games, why don't they just use the same tree models? Maybe they do, and I've not paid that much attention, but I never quite get it. Another look at the, it should have been slightly different in terms of the look. Would this have changed your mind? Maybe not, but still, it's also always so cool to look at these concepts. They usually come out a couple of years after the game's been released. We've seen many leaks of Most Wanted 2012. That's been spanning for years. I know a lot of people keep telling me to look at the new leaks. We've all seen how those go. Honestly, this type of stuff is what I'm properly interested in. UI design kind of carries a game in a tremendous way, but it's also really linked to the game. Like, it's one of those that you maybe don't fully appreciate all the time, but I feel like a lot of Unbound's UI doesn't really deliver. It feels quite like some of them are just gray boxes with just text. It's a little bit weird. This, when it flashes this, the videos ultimately tie all this together to explain it a bit better, but obviously the pictures we can dissect and look into a little bit more. The looking at the board, how much money you got and things, that's really cool. And then, you know, you turn around and you show your cool t-shirt. Okay, maybe we're pushing it a little bit here. That's just unnecessary, right? We don't care about no clothes. This is one of my favorite shots, though. Like, look at the lighting on that. I get it now, but again, I could just see that with normal characters, so, you know, just do that. But anyway, I find this stuff incredibly interesting. Being able to see and feel what the game was meant to be like from one person's perspective, and then they didn't quite get there. As far as I know, the explanation would be the messy development of the game. For those that don't know, in between development of this game, it was delayed, and basically they got told to stop making the game for a while the majority worked on Battlefield. It got messy. And then they formed a new studio for Battlefield. And now they've closed that, and most of Criterion are now working on Battlefield. However, there's now the core Need for Speed team, which I don't know. They're probably still also working on Battlefield for now that Unbound is kind of done. Maybe in the new year. Anyway, I wanted to share this with you guys because in case you didn't see this, I mean, it was buried in the internet. We've just kind of found about it in the last few months. This type of stuff is like, you know, NDA'd and things like that, and then they eventually just released this stuff, and it doesn't really show anything majorly new from the game itself other than what they really would have liked it to have been. But we did see some gameplay where the game actually, in my opinion, maybe looked a little bit better with Heat's lighting. That was a big one. And also, we really clearly had a story pretty early on because she's there. This bit's so sick. I just love how the 350 comes in with the wide body, and then, yeah, gameplay. It looks really good. The road looking extra well. I'm struggling with the map. Is that Heat's map or is that the new map? It looks like it could be the new map, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. It looks like the new map, right? Let me know in the comments, because clearly I don't know. I want to check out this.